Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 4 of May 2026. India's exports expanded significantly last fiscal year. New product and country combinations generated over $200 million in new trade. Ships, telecom instruments, and agri products saw growth in new markets. This diversification shows a shift towards higher value manufacturing and technology. Exports to Northeast Asia and Latin America also surged, indicating growing global demand for Indian goods. Indian authorities are exploring ways to revive the long-delayed sale of a majority stake in IDBI Bank after bids fell short of expectations earlier this year. Officials are considering lowering the reserve price by up to 20% and reducing reliance on the bank's market price to make the deal more attractive to buyers, according to people familiar with the matter. Jio Studios will invest Rs 4,000 to Rs 5,000 crore in content over the next 3 years. This marks a significant increase from previous investments. The company has seen success with blockbuster films like the Dhurandhar franchise. Jio Studios focuses on building scale and reaching a wide audience. Long-form storytelling, especially theatrical releases, remains a key strategy. Regulators are examining overseas investments by Indian companies. The Reserve Bank of India is seeking details on the purpose and structure of these foreign ventures. This scrutiny follows a significant increase in overseas direct investment outflows. Companies must demonstrate genuine business intent for these investments. The RBI aims to ensure funds are used appropriately and profits are repatriated. Moody's Ratings slashed India's GDP growth forecast for year 2026 by 0.8 percentage points to 6% on subdued private consumption, capital formation, and industrial activity amid higher energy costs. In its Global Macro Outlook May update, Moody's said over the next 6 months, the impact from higher energy prices and fuel and fertilizer-related shortages will vary widely across countries, reflecting differences in exposure and resilience. US yields have broken out, presenting a new pressure point for the Indian rupee and other emerging market currencies. The 10-year US Treasury yield rose 4 basis points to 4.6250% on Monday, extending Friday's 14 basis point jump. Until last week, US yields had been holding in a narrow range since the Iran conflict began, likely reflecting expectations of a resolution. That has now changed, with the 10-year yield on a tear. The Indian rupee touched an all-time low of Rs 96.40 on Monday. The US has approved the possible sale of support services and related equipment for Apache helicopters to India for an estimated cost of $198.2 billion. The principal contractors for the Apache support services deal will be the Boeing Company and Lockheed Martin. The proposed sales will improve India's capability to meet current and future threats, strengthen its homeland defense, and deter regional threats. Hero MotoCorp plans a significant Rs 1,500 crore capital expenditure for fiscal year 2027. This investment aims to double its scooter production capacity. The company is also building a global parts center in South India with an investment exceeding Rs 700 crore. Demand momentum remains strong despite global uncertainties. India's fertilizer subsidy bill could rise by Rs 70,000 crore to Rs 2.41 lakh crore in 2026-27. This increase is driven by higher import costs for urea and other fertilizers due to the West Asia crisis. Despite cost pressures, fertilizer availability for the 2026 Kharif season remains comfortable. Diversified import sourcing is bridging any supply gaps. India is now the world's biggest market for Kit Kat. This iconic chocolate wafer bar has seen accelerated growth. Nestle India attributes this success to strong consumer reach, new product launches, and increased marketing. Kit Kat's performance is a significant boost for Nestle's confectionery business. The brand's journey from 10th to first place globally highlights India's growing importance. To meet cash flow mismatches and provide temporary working capital, the Food Corporation of India or FCI will raise short-term loans of Rs 50,000 crore from scheduled banks for a 3-month tenure, with a green shoe option to mop up an additional Rs 25,000 crore. The rising cost of holding hugely surplus food grains continues to boost food subsidy expenditure, while short-term loans are used to bridge the gap between the periodic allocation under food subsidy and rising costs. The Reserve Bank of India is watching global uncertainties closely. Governor Sanjay Malhotra stated the RBI is monitoring supply shocks. The central bank will act if price increases become widespread. India's monetary policy remains neutral, allowing flexibility. The RBI aims for price stability while managing short-term volatility. Future policy decisions will be data dependent. The government is reviewing imports of non-essential items and goods, where import dependence is low, among other measures to curtail the country's import bill and encourage domestic capacity creation. If necessary, the government can impose higher duties or selective restrictions to curb such imports. India's merchandise trade deficit widened to $28.4 billion in April from $20.7 billion in March, adding to balance of payments concerns amid portfolio outflows and tepid foreign direct investment. India is considering incentives exceeding $1 billion to spur private sector adoption of electric buses and trucks in an attempt to cut fossil fuel use in the segment amid a deepening energy crisis. The program would span a decade and target India's largely privately owned commercial vehicle fleet, with the biggest share likely earmarked for intercity bus operators. The Reserve Bank of India is proposing new rules for banks. These rules will standardize how banks report their capital strength. This applies to all banks, including foreign ones. The goal is to make it easier for people to understand and compare bank performance. Banks will need to use specific formats and report figures in rupees crore. Hyderabad's office rentals hit a record high in Q1 2026, nearing Bengaluru's rates due to robust demand from global capability centers and large occupiers. This surge, coupled with no new completions and tightened availability, drove up average rents to Rs 92.2 per square feet, with Madhapur seeing even higher rates. Jindal India Limited has finished its Rs 1,500 crore expansion in West Bengal. A new color coating line is now operational at its Howrah facility. This boosts steel manufacturing capacity significantly. The company expects revenue to grow by 75% in financial year 27. This expansion supports India's infrastructure development needs. Meta Platforms is cutting jobs and reorganizing teams to boost its artificial intelligence capabilities. Thousands of employees will be moved to AI-focused roles. This move signals a shift in the company's strategy, prioritizing AI development across its products and operations. The Reserve Bank of India is introducing new rules for banks under Basel III. Lenders will soon publish detailed information quarterly on capital, leverage, liquidity, and risks. This aims to boost transparency and market understanding. Banks must explain any significant changes in these figures. The new framework starts from the quarter ending September 30th, 2026. Reliance Industries' planned IPO for its digital arm Jio Platforms faces significant hurdles due to geopolitical tensions and market volatility exacerbated by the war in Iran. The conglomerate is reviewing the deal's structure, impacting timelines and potentially affecting investor returns amid a downturn in Indian stocks and capital flight. At the heart of the issue is a valuation concern after a deepening slump in the country's equity markets. Adani Power is set to acquire a significant stake in Jai Prakash Power Ventures and a thermal power plant. This move is part of a resolution plan for Jai Prakash Associates. The acquisitions will boost Adani Power's generation capacity and expand its presence in the thermal power sector. The deal is expected to be completed within 90 days of NCLT approval. India's warehousing sector shows strong growth in the first quarter of 2026. Leasing activity increased by 15% compared to the previous year, reaching 19.3 million square feet across 8 major cities. This surge is fueled by demand from manufacturing and third-party logistic firms. Companies are actively enhancing their supply chain networks and distribution capabilities. Standard Chartered plans to cut over 7,000 jobs in 4 years, replacing human capital with technology, particularly impacting back-office roles in India. This move aligns with a broader trend of financial firms leveraging AI and tech hubs in India for both support and higher value functions, though some, like Wells Fargo, are also consolidating operations. Cloud9 Hospitals is set to acquire Apollo Cradle and Apollo Fertility. This strategic move will create India's largest maternity and children's healthcare network. Apollo Health and Lifestyle Limited will hold a significant stake in the combined entity. The deal aims to enhance specialized healthcare access across India. The Reserve Bank of India reverted to its familiar intervention strategy on Thursday, deploying heavy dollar sales via state-run banks before market open to halt a persistent slide in the rupee after a string of all-time lows. The rupee surged on the interbank order matching system to near 96 against the US dollar following heavy intervention, with the currency rallying by about 70 paise within minutes. SoftBank Group stocks have surged significantly. This rise follows reports that two SoftBank-backed companies, OpenAI and SB Energy, are preparing for initial public offerings in the United States. OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, is reportedly planning a fall debut. SB Energy, focused on data center energy infrastructure, also announced its IPO plans. The Capital Group, one of the world's largest investment management firms, has been increasing its exposure to Adani Group companies while steadily paring holdings in Reliance Industries Limited, marking a shift in foreign investor preference between India's biggest conglomerates. The Los Angeles-based money manager has acquired stakes worth more than $2 billion across 3 Adani Group companies in recent weeks. India's crude oil imports see a significant shift this May. Venezuela has become the third largest supplier, surpassing Saudi Arabia and the US. The surge is due to Indian refiners like Reliance Industries buying more of Venezuela's cost-effective heavy crude. Overall imports are up, though still below pre-Iran war levels. Supplies from Saudi Arabia have decreased. Varun Beverages Limited has extended its exclusive bottling and trademark license agreement with PepsiCo Inc. in India until April 30, 2049, replacing the previous term ending in 2039. The revised agreement also removes a key restriction, allowing Varun Beverages Limited to pursue businesses outside of PepsiCo operations, signaling a deepening strategic partnership. Dalmia Cement has acquired key cement assets from Jai Prakash Associates for Rs 2,850 crore. This deal, facilitated by the Adani Group's insolvency resolution, strengthens Dalmia's presence in central India. The acquisition includes cement plants and power capacity, boosting Dalmia's total capacity significantly. This move accelerates expansion plans and provides faster market access. India's executive search market is experiencing a slowdown. Companies are adopting a cautious approach to hiring due to global conflicts, inflation, and a weaker rupee. Senior-level recruitment in consumer-facing sectors has moderated. Businesses are prioritizing essential hires over growth-driven roles. The coming months will be crucial in determining the duration of this trend. Indian car makers are shifting from a just-in-time to a just-in-case inventory strategy, stocking critical auto components for 3 to 6 months instead of the previous 30 to 45 days. This change is a direct response to persistent supply chain disruptions driven by geopolitical factors, signaling a new permanent operating reality for the industry. The Supreme Court has noted a troubling trend where banks like State Bank of India are casual in sanctioning large corporate loans. However, they impose difficult conditions on ordinary citizens seeking small personal loans. The court suggested the government frame policies for easier loan access for the less privileged. Overseas Indians withdrew nearly $2 billion from Indian bank accounts in March. This outflow occurred during the Iran war. Reserve Bank of India data shows a contraction in non-resident Indian deposit inflows. Experts anticipate geopolitical uncertainties will impact NRI deposits further if conflicts persist. Withdrawals were seen in non-resident external rupee accounts and non-resident ordinary accounts. Adani Group has made a significant payment of Rs 6,000 crore to lenders of Jai Prakash Associates. This marks the first installment of Rs 14,535 crore resolution plan. The payment follows judicial clearance and the dismissal of a rival bid. Lenders will receive substantial amount after a long wait. This development is a key milestone in a lengthy insolvency case. India and Russia are deepening energy ties. Discussions focus on gas supplies and joint ventures for hydrocarbon development. Russia is a key crude oil supplier, with US sanctions waivers continuing. The nations are also exploring LPG purchases and new oil and gas facilities. Civil nuclear cooperation is gaining momentum, with projects like Kundalakulam showcasing Russian technology. Eicher Motors will invest up to Rs 750 crore in a new joint venture with Volvo Financial Services India. This new entity will provide financing of Eicher, Volvo and Royal Enfield products in India. The joint venture aims to enhance customer experience by offering accessible financing solutions. Anil Agarwal's Vedanta Resources Limited is in talks with global banks to refinance its $5.25 to $5.5 billion debt. The company aims to raise $3.5 to $3.7 billion through a 10-year bonds and $1.5 to $1.7 billion via 5-year loans. This move seeks to better align debt repayments with dividend inflows from its operating companies. A string of startup shutdowns and strategic pivots in the artificial intelligence space is prompting venture capital or VC firms to become more selective, with investors increasingly moving away from generic AI offerings and focusing instead on businesses with stronger differentiation and clearer commercial outcomes. 18 AI startups in India have shut down in the last 16 months. Even Ola's AI venture Krutrim has reportedly pulled back its consumer assistant Kruti from app stores and the web as it pivots towards AI cloud infrastructure. This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.